Hello, welcome to week 3 of Conscious Self-Care using Wellfulness. My name is Roff Farrar. I'm Wellness Director at Psychologies magazine, and I'm also author of the Wellfulness project, which is where a lot of the concepts from this online coaching course have come from. So if you're interested and you've enjoyed it so far, definitely check that out, the Wellfulness project. If you're joining us for the first time, this is week 3, so maybe go back and watch week 1 and week 2 meditations. There's also workbooks which accompany this online course. You can access them if you are a psychology subscriber. So do go and get access to those and to many of the other online coaching programs that we've got available over there. Head to Psychologies magazine and subscribe now. So we're in week 3. So far we've done 2 lovely meditations, and I would definitely, if you have the time and if you've enjoyed them, definitely bring those into your daily life going forward if you have time, maybe alternating each one. And this week we're going to be looking at a mindfulness practice rather than a meditation. Using Wellfulness, so this idea of applying mindful awareness to our holistic self, our body, our mind and our heart. And in the workbook we worked on a lot of the other areas. So we worked at space, we looked at food, we looked at movement, and we looked at ritual and routine as well. So this video is going to be focusing on food. So we're kind of covering lots of different elements in our self-care practice and our world of self-care. So we are going to be practicing an intuitive eating practice or eating ritual. Many of you might have heard of mindful eating, and in my book I do talk about the differences between mindful and intuitive eating. Mindful eating is paying attention to everything in the here and now, to do with your food, your meal, so the smells, the sensations, the taste and everything like that. And that is fantastic because it cultivates a practice of being in the present moment. But intuitive eating builds on that. So we do need to use that mindfulness practice of being here and now with our food and really noticing everything that's in front of us when it comes to the food. But it's intuitive eating takes it a step forward, a step deeper, if you like, by bringing that mindful awareness of the present and now and turning it inwards to look at ourselves. And within Wellfulness, I use this to look at, obviously, the 3 areas. So while we're eating, how this food is making you feel in your mind, in your heart, and in your body. So you can either go and grab something to eat right now, or you can practice this around your next meal. So noticing, first of all, that mindful awareness, that mindful practice of eating, really noticing, really taking notice, so turning off any kind of music or radio or anything, TV that you've got going on, so that you can really put your focus onto your food and just taking notice of the sensations, the feelings, textures, colours, smells, the tastes. Once you're there, I want you then to kind of turn that mindful gaze inwards and begin to ask yourself, how does this food make me feel in my body? So when we're thinking about body, we're thinking about the physical body. So that would be, is it giving me energy? Does it make me feel light of body, or does it make me feel heavy? Is it filling me up? Is it giving me energy in that sense? Or am I still wanting, is my body still craving that food? Maybe I can even get a sense of my body kind of really enjoying it. So not my mind enjoying it or my kind of mouth enjoying it, but my body really kind of sucking up any nutrients, like taking it in, really feeling how my body's responding to this food. Maybe I'm feeling a sense of irritation in my gut, maybe irritation in the mouth. So for example, with myself, aubergine, I tend to get a bit of an itchy mouth when I eat aubergine, which is just interesting. Doesn't mean I have to do anything or stop eating it or eat more of it. It's just noticing and being curious about the body's reactions. Other times with apple, I can notice that I get very bloated and I can almost feel it happening as I'm eating the apple. something's happening in my belly. Obviously, if I'm watching TV or if I'm having a conversation or listening to the radio or whatever, then my mindful attention, my awareness is going to be focused on that and not on what's happening in my body. But my body's trying to send me messages, and that's called interoception. So, for example, your body will let you know when you need to go to the toilet, your body will let you know when you're thirsty. It's sending us these messages all the time, but we're not so in tune with our bodies. We're not really tuned into that frequency that it's trying to give us those messages on, and that's why we can often find ourselves thinking, God, I'm really thirsty, and just going and drinking 3 glasses of water in a row. The body's been telling us, sending us these messages previously. It's just that we haven't been quite tuned into them. Likewise, when many of you will find this, for example, if you're working at your desk, you might suddenly think, God, I'm bursting for the loo. Your body would have been sending you those messages that it needed to go to the toilet, but we're so engrossed in what's happening in the mind and the work in front of us that we're not listening to what's happening in the body. So this is a really, really important practice, especially when it comes to the body, about what and around with intolerance issues with foods, and even health issues. If we're eating junk food, the mind is often very, very satisfied, but the body will be telling us a different story in the gut, with energy levels. So it's really important to try and tune into all of those things while we're eating our food and directly afterwards, to see what's happening in our bodies in response to the food and the fuel that we're giving it. And that's a really, really important self-care practice. So first of all, tuning into the body. What is happening in the body? What's my body trying to tell me? How does my body feel while I'm eating this food? The next step is to ask the mind. So obviously that might be very different. So the mind might be thinking, if you're eating a salad or something that you deem as boring, you might be thinking, oh God, I don't want to eat this. This is boring. This doesn't taste great. I wish I could have this. So the mind will constantly be having thoughts. As we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, the mind is a thinking machine, and it's there to create thoughts. So obviously, we're very much in tune with those thoughts. We're listening to them. So this practice is a lot about noticing. And, it doesn't mean that we have to eat boring food. But if that's the chatter that's going on in the mind, how we can start to take that information and ask ourselves, okay, so how can I make this more interesting? Likewise, we might be thinking, God, look at all these colours. This makes me feel really healthy. This makes me feel good. I'm interested. There's lots of different textures. There's lots of different ingredients, and our minds might be really kind of happy with all of the kind of mental stimulation that's happening in our food. So yeah, really listening into what's going on in the mind and just observing. So there might be some kind of, you might realise, oh God, my mind is really telling me, some things that don't actually serve me in terms of what food I should be eating. And that's just very interesting. So we don't need to do anything about that right now. We can just observe that. And that might be difficult for some of us to kind of think, well, is my mind trying to sabotage me by wanting me to eat junk food and not enjoying this healthy food? And that is, something to observe and to watch. And that is information from our bodies, internal information. It's inner wisdom that's coming through for us. And that is invaluable. We can use that to start to cultivate and create a more conscious and a more informed self-care plan for ourselves that we might not have had before. And in the book I talk a lot about information coming from outside, and we're so often seeking information outside of ourselves, when actually there's so much going on in here that we're not listening to, and in here and in our whole bodies, that it has stuff to tell us, that can help us kind of begin to create a more conscious wellness plan for ourselves. So just beginning to lean into that, to observe what's happening in the mind. And then finally, asking yourself, how does this food make me feel right now in my heart? So when we think about comfort food, that can really kind of make us feel safe and warm. It can comfort us in terms of our kind of heart space. It can bring us joy, for example, having a big dinner with friends can really bring us joy, especially if it's Christmas dinner or something like that. There's more to food than just nutrition. We're emotionally attached to it. So and we're mentally attached to it as well. You know, we have a lot of thoughts around it, which is what we just touched on, but we also have emotions around it. So again, listening to what's going on in the heart space, and really considering whether those messages are supporting us, whether we can listen to them a bit deeper and take on board what they're saying, or whether we want to try and balance that out a little bit more. So obviously having comfort food every single day is not what our bodies need. So can we bring in a bit of some elements of comfort that also support our body and also support our mind? That's kind of where we're heading with this. The other element within heart to really consider when it comes to food is values and morals and beliefs. And I think as a psychology's reader, it's more than likely that you are someone who thinks deeply about this. As I write about in my book, I definitely have been on a journey thinking about my morals, my values, the things that I think that are important in the world, and how I'm acting on them day to day. And food is a really big area where we can kind of control, to be honest, and make conscious choices that don't have a great, don't take a lot of time to change. And for me, that was to stop eating meat, definitely. So for me personally, this, again, all of us are unique, all of us are different. We have different needs, different values, different things that are important to us, different health needs, different bodies, different minds, different interests. We're all different. So just because this suited me does not mean that it has to suit you. You are looking inwards to yourself to discover your own inner needs. But when I looked inwards to discover my own inner needs, I realised that I wasn't living in line with my values. And once I did, I really started to feel wonderful in my heart space. I started to align more with what was going on in my heart space, and that was really, really important to me. So I stopped eating meat, and as I said, food's not just about nutrition, it's about emotions, values, thoughts as well. And once we can begin to find greater holistic alignment, which is what we're doing here by looking inwards and feeling into how each area of body, mind and heart responds and feels when we eat different kinds of foods, or spend time in different spaces, or do different exercises. Once we can begin to balance them all out so that they're all being served, then we begin to create a more holistic and authentic lifestyle of wellness and well-being that serves us and serves our unique needs. So really leaning into listening to, does this meal support my values? Does it support my belief system? Does it support who I am inside? Because ultimately that's what's going on here in our hearts, who we are. So really thinking about that and just observing. And again, no judgment, no kind of, this isn't a stick to pick up and beat ourselves over the head with. It's just observation. It's just curiosity. And from that point of observation and curiosity, we begin to gain wisdom and information from inside ourselves. And that's the power. And that's what we can then step forwards with and use to make more conscious decisions in our life and conscious choices in our life when it comes to our well-being. So try that with every meal that you eat, even every snack. Maybe even every meal that you don't eat, just feeling into your body. How does it feel to be hungry? How does it feel to have eaten 5 hours ago or 5 minutes ago? Beginning to cultivate those conversations and look inwards. So join me next week. We'll be doing a lovely tea ritual and talking about how we can bring more ritual into our routine. See you next week.